Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to have a conversation because we start for content about the storylines coming into the LEC. There's plenty of them because naturally you can find storylines in anything if you really want to, but we also have storylines that are inherently quite exciting. This is not necessarily tied to analysis, it is more tied to my general excitement as a LEC enjoyer. There's a lot of storylines. Of course, every team in the league is going to go through their storyline, but there is a difference in level of excitement when it comes to each storyline. I wanted to talk about a couple and then, of course, eventually, hopefully, get to a point where, I'm giving you guys a little bit of a ranking, a little top 5 can be made. All in all, let's have a conversation about it. Even though in a world where...
Son of a bitch, you're in.
Astralis. Inherently, if you look at the roster, not super exciting. I felt like Finn's time to shine was with Excel and they couldn't push over that hurdle to beat Fnatic. But I felt like that was big, the big chance for Finn. They bring Finn into this roster, they bring in 113. There was, of course, this rumor that they were trying to get Junja, which was an exciting rumor, but rumors are rumors. If you look at this on paper, I think Kobe and Yonghoon definitely did a lot of good shit together, and Yonghoon seems to be crazy enough, and I know that Kobe is strong enough to carry games. I feel like with the loss of Xerxes here, I think that they have lost a little bit of firepower. I need more in order to get excited about Dior, but the main thing that makes Astralis a very interesting storyline is with the context of what the new format is. They can definitely play spoiler. A team like Astralis, they have every incentive to practice very hard in the coming weeks and to start strong and make an impact in the BO1s. So all in all, I think Astralis is a team that, their storyline is how many very expensive rosters can they potentially fuck up on their way to qualify to the best of threes. The exciting thing about this format as well is that, there's going to be a seeding coming into the best of 3 groups. So any damage Astralis can do will be very, very valuable. I think the same thing can be said for our dear friends at SK as well. I think SK managed to piece together a pretty decent roster. I'm not gonna lie. I think that they have some names on here that could potentially be placed in higher up teams. So they've completely revamped the rosters. The crowd favorites like Treats and of course Gilius are no longer around. They have the likes of Certus still. They have Markoon, who was a decent jungler, I would say, on Excel that has potential. I personally haven't even watched their announcement video. So I'm just gonna let it play. The same thing for SK, right? They can also play spoiler. They are definitely in that conversation of potentially falling below the line. They would have to, of course, compete with Astralis and then BDS. Oh, this kind of reminds me of the Excel announcement video. He's getting electrocuted. Alright, this is copyright attack for sure. I think they've managed to pick up some pretty decent players, and I think definitely that some of these players could have performances that potentially make these individual players a asset that could be sold at the end of a season. But in the same basket as Astralis, they're playing spoiler. Very rarely we're going to see SK, in my mind, take the headlines. But nevertheless, any win SK can take, especially in those games against Astralis and BDS. I think that's where I would believe that SK would be able to do better. All in all, if they can take wins over the big teams, and they started out early in terms of their boot camping, the B1 systems can definitely create a situation where SK has played spoiler and caused some serious damage. And that's a storyline in itself. We have Crowny. Crowny making his return, Adam making his return. These guys coming back in itself is very hype. I think that Crowny being on bench was borderline illegal, considering some of the performances we saw. But I'm excited for the return of Crowny. You always have, when players come back, you know, after being absent, you know, sometimes it's very difficult for players to realize what they can miss before they actually lose it. And whenever you have players that manage to find a way to claw their way all the way back, like Crowny and Adam, I think most of the time you get to see a new side of these players. And even though Crowny has been around for quite some time, I think Crowny and also Adam, they're very early on in their career. So this is definitely an opportunity for them to reinvent themselves and to do some damage. All in all, I would put BDS in terms of the narrative. I would put them in a very similar basket as the other teams. Labrov as well. Of course, after the Vitality run, had a hard time. I think Labrov is a player that has shown promise. Definitely has shown promise. And I think that's a very good signing for them. The biggest concern for me is still our boy in the mid lane, who probably should find, I don't know if he's still called Nuclear Int, but I hope that he removes the int from the name. Nuclear Int definitely needs to, you know, show some high highs, because in my mind, I remember him being around in the LEC for quite some time, and I would like to see more from him. But nevertheless, these are the three teams that we expect to play spoiler. We already mentioned the format a couple of times, and I think that's a storyline in itself. For those who don't know, there's going to be a complete change up. We're going to have 3 splits and then a season finals. The season finals is at the end of the season, as you see on your screen. Let me move my camera. The season finals is based off of the championship points that you gather throughout the season. There's 3 splits. There's the winter split, there's a spring split. The winner of spring split will qualify to MSI. So you see neatly the winter split and the spring split are going to fit in the scheduling of one single split in comparison to what we had in the past. Basically, the system each split is going to have is we're going to have best of 1 single round robin. So each team is going to play 9 matches. So there's going to be over the span of 3 weeks. 3 weeks of best of 1s on the same patch. We're going to have 3 back-to-back-to-back super weeks, which is very exhausting in itself, and it's going to be a very unique challenge for each of these teams. Based off of the placings, the top 8 teams are going to be seeded into best of 3 groups. Within these groups, there's going to be a double elimination. Basically, if you lose 2 BO3s on your climb within the group stage, you're going to not qualify towards the playoffs. So basically, there's going to be 2 groups, and within that group, a winner fights a winner, loser fights the winner of both losers of the first round, and then it's kind of like I believe this is what people call a GSL format. Basically, you lose twice, you're out. The crazy thing about this, right, is that if the seeding is completely done based off the placing in the BO1s, the weight of the BO1s is going to be so heavy, and there's going to be a chance that some favorites might get eliminated already in the top 8 competition. Because imagine a world where, as we mentioned before, BDS and XL and SK might play spoiler. They come in hot and heavy, they win a couple of games, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a race for those positions. Especially because teams face each other, each BO1. If you maybe have weak matchups in the beginning of the season and maybe stronger matchups later, maybe you're going to lose momentum. It is going to be so important, because then again, I mentioned we're going to have 3 back-to-back super weeks, which means 3 days of play. The most exhausting thing about teams being forced to play 3 super weeks is the lack of practice and also the lack of recovery. One little, coin that Riot has tossed our way is that we, basically, not we, I am not competing right now. So the LEC teams are playing on the same patch. So at least there's that. But if you have some bad momentum, you're not going to have a lot of time to get back up on that horse. So best of ones, very volatile, and this is where the opportunities for the teams that might get eliminated here, maybe they get eliminated here, they can practice so much in order to prepare for the potential next spring split. So you're always going to be chased by very hungry teams that are going to do their best to try to knock you out. And if you bring that into the context of teams that might potentially go to MSI, might have very deep runs into playoffs, the amount of time that you have off before, for example, the spring split starts is just a single week. So you have playoffs and then boom, the spring split starts with a 1 week break. And all of a sudden those teams that might have been eliminated earlier, they're going to be breathing down your neck. So I had the pleasure of talking to Peter Dunn, of course, about his team, and I think that this is a roster that has a very high ceiling. For those who don't know, Evie, I've been calling him Evi, probably because I've been watching way too much Attack on Titan. Evie has been around for a very long time. This man is a veteran and he has almost always represented Japan at international events. This is a player that definitely has swung around with the best. He has beaten the best. On my end, my personal connection to Evie is that the man beat EG, so we didn't need to play a tiebreaker, which was a big blessing for us. I think getting Jankos is a big steal. I think Jankos is a fantastic player. I think he's really good still. There's always those memes, I think, in terms of branding that Jankos brings to a team, in terms of, the player he is, in terms of the experience. I think this is a player that is fantastic. I think all in all, I really like the kind of construction here of Team Heretics, because I think this is a team that will be able to solve problems very fast with the level of experience and also with the general mix of players that they have. I think that they'll be able to reach their peak very fast. And then the question is, how far can the likes of Mersa and Jack Spectra and Ruby extend their peak level of play? Because that is the main question. I think this is a team that is going to be able to reach their peak in a very consistent manner. But what will that peak look like? And that to me comes down to how good is Jack Spectre going to play, how well is Mercer going to fit here, and will Ruby be able to perform in the LEC? I think Jankos and Evie will be the consistent rocks. All in all, do they have a high enough ceiling to beat the other teams? And the other teams have very high ceilings, so that is going to be the biggest challenge. Another important storyline, right, with the LEC format and what we've talked about, is very important to recognize that teams have more opportunities to actually make changes. In the past format, you always had LEC teams being forced to play the very long regular split. But if there's ever a situation where a team maybe drops out of the top 8 early on, then they have a lot more time to integrate a new player, to negotiate for a new player, and to also bring him in. And that can be a very wise strategic choice, considering we have some pretty decent players that are available. The main man for me is, of course, Upset. I think Upset the last 2 years has played out of his fucking mind. I think that Upset is still one of the best, most talented AD carry players, and I think it will just be a matter of time before he plays in the league again. I think that in a world where a lot of the play in Europe has revolved around bot lane, the meta has been revolving around bot lane for quite some time, Upset knows how to win games and how to carry games. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him after a split, maybe 2, when teams need some firepower. So I paused this presentation video just at the moment where they introduce their top laner, and I thought we were just gonna listen in and hear what they have to say about their new top lane signing, because they let go of Armut, who's been a very long-standing Mad Lions member. They have kept Niski, even though I know in the offseason they did try to pursue Vetio. Niski and Elioya had some very strong moments in, of course, the regular split, but then, of course, fell short when it came to the playoff sense, and also, of course, you know, a lot of talk surrounding Elioya, but of course, the rumors were that Elioya was making some very specific demands on what he wanted in order for him to join and leave Mad Lions. Of course, I don't want to speculate on what he's thinking and what is not, but Elioya was definitely like the hottest prospect in terms of jungling in the off-season. Another one was of course Yike too. Let's hear the reasoning as to why they brought in this particular top laner.
Build a roster that would long-term be competitive. Have also been with Kase and Niski, of course. And so far, we haven't had the international success that we have been looking for at Mad Lions.
Your Mac looks so different. I'm kidding, of course. Mr. Chasey.
A lot of thoughts went into how we wanted to approach the top lane role for this split. And basically what it came down to was that when you go to international events, you have a very...
Let's be honest. If you're looking to import, top lane is a good role to do it. You know, I've been telling Wunder, yo, Wunder, if you wanted to, you could smoke all of these top laners, man. You smoke them. You can push a little bit more and you can smoke them. And I genuinely believe so. If there was a role to import in, I think top lane is the way to go. I think that is definitely a role where, you know, there is some exploration to be made in terms of how you can win games through top side, because I feel like in Europe we are often resorting back to the same thing. Of course, the rest of Mad Lions, I think Chasey is interesting, but I have to admit I don't know too much about Chasey. I have to look into him just a little bit more. I think Mad Lions, you know, the big storyline for me is just Karzi and Hillisang. So everyone's excited about this crazy duo coming together. I am personally very excited for Hilly because I hope that he comes into this season with fire in his eyes. I think that this roster, from a personality standpoint and what Hilly needs within a team, I think this roster makes a lot more sense. I have a general idea of the personalities on these teams. I've had a podcast episode with Karzi quite some time ago. I know how Niski is. I have a general idea of how Elioya is due to my conversations with Ivan. And I believe that this is a very, very good fit for Hilly. Very, very good fit. Hilly needs to feel supported. He needs to feel trusted within a team. And I think this is the group that can give him that. And I think with the change between the seasons, I think and I hope that Hilly has taken everything personal, because I believe in the Hilly Baba product. I really, really believe in the Hilly Baba product. And I think that he can find new highs again, but he needs to bring fire and vengeance. He needs to find motivation from all of the dark places. And I think this is a roster that can definitely, you know, do some great things. I think naturally we need to include Koi here. And now we're approaching, I think this is probably the fifth most exciting storyline. Koi is coming back to defend their title. I think, without a doubt, that's always something you have to pay attention to. I know that I know some rumors that Koi is starting a little bit slow and they are resting coming into this season. But all in all, I think with Upset and Hilly not playing together coming into this year, I think Koi having their bot lane, you know, sticking together and having the core of the roster intact, I think that it's definitely, you know, oh shit, just bonks Buppo.
I like my playstyle.
Yeah, I like your playstyle too, Malrang. I think if there's a role that you could change after winning a final in Europe, And keep in mind, if you had to change your role, no smoke towards Odoamne, but I believe... Now this is... We're talking about Odoamne, then it's just an Odoamne highlight. All in all, what I'm trying to say is Rogue made a change in the top lane. And I think if you want to keep the winning recipe, I think that is the role where you have the least amount of impact in terms of what Rogue were doing within their games to continue playing the same way. I think that the cooperation between Malrang and the top lane, Odoamne, was always very good, and it was something that we struggled with in the series against them, because this is how they secured heralds, they secured kills on our boy Wunder, and this is definitely something that gave them leads in a meta that we created that was heavily revolving around just playing front to back. I think Rogue has maintained, Koi has maintained the winning recipe as much as he could if they were forced to make one change. So Koi coming back to defend. I think Malrang S tier. I think Rogue's bot lane S tier. I don't think we can put anyone else in that box. And Larson has been playing better and better. He continues to grow.
He's hunting for it. Forward. That's a Quadra. Cobb looking for the pentakill. The boomerang by some time.
Very cool. Tromboner. Probably the best performing support of last year. Very exciting to see if Koi can continue the dominance. Esports. Esports. Not my personal favorite, I'm not gonna lie. Not my personal favorite, because even though a lot of people are very excited about this roster, I am less so. I feel like I need to be proven more. I need to see more. I think the fact that Youngbuck is here, I think the fact that Nelson is here, I think is a big plus for the potential ceiling of this team. I think this is an upgrade for XL, but all in all, in my mind, this is where some of these players are going to prove themselves. Viteo is a very, very interesting player, right? Very interesting player, very exciting player, but he has never won a single best of 5 in the LEC. Of course, the counter argument is, well, Viteo was held back by his team. In my mind, in order for mid laners and in order that teams actually win the LEC, they need to have that elite level mid laner. And I think Viteo has always shown that in the regular split. In the regular split, he's had fantastic performances, but I feel like that's always been off of the back of teams playing worse. I think Misfits was very good at drafting around team fighting, recognizing their strengths and weaknesses, and I think this is something that they did better than any other team in the regular split, and this is how they collected victories. They played very patient, and they also always had hope due to how they like to draft, right? They made changes in the jungle role mid-split, and they managed to do a lot of good things. I don't want to take that away from Viteo, but when it comes to the best of 5s, still, Viteo hasn't impressed me. It is not to say that he doesn't have that potential, because in terms of laning, in terms of mechanical skill, he's definitely shown that he's very capable. But in terms of winning BO5s and clutching out, it requires a very specific player. With that being said, this is Viteo's chance to break through this shell that I have artificially put around him. The same thing for Patrick. I would say I would put Patrick in that box. There's been moments where Patrick is like, wow, this is a performance of a S tier level AD carry. But when it comes to pushing your team over the edge, it requires something very, very special and very extra in those best of 5 games. The intangible. The tangible we've seen, but the intangible I need to see more of. Targamas is also very interesting hire in the context of G2's bot lane last year. You know, you think back at G2's some of their issues, I think a lot of it stemmed from their bottom side. They couldn't play and keep up with the meta, but we don't know who to blame there. We don't know who to blame there. This is Targama's opportunity to show that he's capable of more. We've heard many times the rumor of Targamas being not so talkative in the support position, which is something that is rare, because inherently as a support you can contribute a lot more in terms of information gathering and information flow, because you in most cases have less to do. But in a world where someone like Targamas doesn't have a player like Jankos, how is Targamas going to look like? I am a person that gives Jankos a lot of credit, so that to me is where the excitement goes for the storyline of Excel. How are they going to, you know, break out of these kind of contextual shells that I've personally put them in? Because in the end, these are my storylines, with my bias. So pressure's on. Xerxes had a good last year. I think that Excel managed to piece together a very good roster on paper, but paper burns, my friends. Paper burns. And I personally am guessing that the Excel roster is going to be the one that burns. G2. G2. Is there ever a world where a roster with the likes of Caps is not going to be exciting? Caps and Dylan Falco. I would really want to ask Dylan. Dylan.
Rasmus.
Dylan.
Loyal associates.
Tell me, what is the difference between coaching a team with caps and a team without caps? You've done both. The day you knew you're gonna coach caps again,
you have to take care of these leagues. How is your old man?
and also, without a
This
doubt,
kid.
best
Do you
announcement video.
vouch for him?
Yes, top father. He's cracked.
Excellent.
It's so bad, but I love it.
When can I? He has too many questions.
He means no disrespect. We'll break his spirit in no time.
Very well. Sit.
There he is. There he is.
They're late. My boy, it's so good to have you back in the family again.
No.
Asterisk.
Hey.
I was expecting Frenchie to join you.
Water.
I haven't seen either of you on this side of town in quite some time.
We have done some things we're not proud of.
No, they quit for me.
What happened to the
That's
other one?
crazy. I haven't watched this.
Who?
I assumed what it
about
would
the
be,
quiet one?
and
He's swimming with the fishes.
you know, I assumed what it would be, and based on watching every other announcement video, I said this is the best one, but this is already better than that.
And what about the duck?
Oh shit.
Now we talk business. I have brought each of you here for a very specific job.
Of course, top father.
Anything.
I need you to win.
What would you like us to win, top father?
Everything.
Woo! No, but I didn't even realize. It's a broken blade. It's like, yo, need you guys to carry me, man. Screenplay drafted by Rodrigo. The top father is the top father. The caps is Rasmus. Mickey X as long lost son. Okay, Yike as the new kid. G2 Waterboy. Mafia Doug as main course. Cap's dad as Old Man Still Dancing, Tom Kench as chef, Katarina as stunt coordinator, Wulu as leaky ceiling, Card Reader as imposter, Hackerman as that data recovery savior. Okay. Very nice. Look at that picture, guys. That is beautiful. All right. Well, Yak is a very interesting person. I think having, like, as a rookie, you genuinely couldn't ask for more than this roster. I think that he will learn and has the possibility to grow so much. It's always interesting when junglers get thrown into the pool of water that is, of course, the LEC. That is kind of a shock in terms of how fast things are and how precise you need to be. And how Yike is going to manage that pressure is going to be the main question. We've had a couple of junglers that come out to the scene and already, you know, smurf out of their mind, like the likes of Elioya. I can't think of anyone else, you know. Maybe some in the older days, because Jankos was quite damn good in the first season that he played on KMT, Kiedyś Miałem Team, and then became, of course, Rokat. All in all, in my mind, the big question will be, how will Yike perform? But he has a great opportunity here ahead of himself, and I believe I am a believer of Hans Sama and Mickey. Definitely a believer of Hans Sama and Mickey. There is, of course, the rumor as well going around that G2 is dominating in scrims, but then again, who knows? That is not, you know, the best thing to go off of. But considering we're in the off season, we're gonna allow ourselves to get very excited about it. Second is the Vitality storyline. Here's the new DRM. Neon. Very strong player. Very great moments on his Jinx. He really didn't like that. I think that his value was over. I mentioned on the Euphoria episode that I felt like Neon was overrated due to his Jinx performances. And I think he took that personally. He mentioned to me, he's like, yo, did you see my Ezreal? Right after he played an Ezreal game. He's like, did you see my Ezreal? Does that look like Jinx to you? And I respect that. I respect that a lot. And I think this last year, very solid performance from Neon. I think it's a very good signing. Kaiser, also, very decent signing. Very good signing. Kaiser, just fucking be like a magnet, you know? Go towards... take everything that you learned from playing together with Elioya and stick yourself to your boy Bo, okay? Stick yourself to the boy Bo, okay? Mad Kaiser. Very similar in some aspects. I think he is a safer Hillisang, but at the price of being a worse laner. Even though Perks is on the team and he's the man of the hour, right? I said that Perks is the man of the hour, but he's not. Bo is the man of the hour. Bo is the man, period, okay? And some people out there might say, yo, there's been a lot of players that tear up solo queue, right? We don't give a shit about solo queue always. Solo queue, what does solo queue mean? Solo queue, what does that mean? But the thing is, our boy Bo, okay? Our boy Bo has, what the fuck is that shit? Bo has had competitive matches. That's the thing. Bo has had competitive matches. And in those matches, he looked insane. It was a tragedy when Bo got busted for match fixing, I believe. And I don't know the full gist of the story. I think a lot of people were, you know, caught up in that business. And I don't know if it's fair to blame Bo for it. But now he's in Europe, right? This guy did some crazy shit in the LPL. And this is a very, very exciting player due to this reason. And then continuously, you know, annihilating solo queue. This is just his numbers, okay? So basically, let me tell you this, okay? Let me tell you this. let me tell you a story about Bo playing AD carry. I think that Bo has the potential to be the best AD carry in Europe. That's how good Bo is. When I see Bo play Samira and like Kaiser, I am mind blown. I believe Bo could be the best AD carry. But of course, that's not super relevant because he's going to jungle. But I just wanted to highlight how mechanically crazy this guy is. And I'll be glued to the screen to see Bo play. Of course, they need to deal with a lot of challenges, but Vitality have invested a lot into making sure that Bobo is comfortable. My man's been playing solo queue in Europe for a very long time. He's been vibing with the team. He's getting used to Berlin cuisine. Neon is the third best ADC on his team, Fortnite Skilled Game just wrote in chat. Now that is a hilarious comment. All in all, I think this storyline about Bo is even a potential contender to be the number one storyline for me personally. But, there's a very big one left. And you guys all know which one that is. We have Rekkles coming back. The last time we saw Rekkles in Fnatic was the World Championship 2020. And that performance from Rekkles and Hilly was wonderful. It was astonishing. I think Hilly played like probably the best support of the whole tournament. And I'm mentioning Hilly because I think that's a very important aspect of this. Rekkles and Hilly, mind-blowing performance. Last time Rekkles was on Fnatic, fantastic things happened. So the main thing about Rekkles' career, right, is the man at this point, you know, he couldn't play in the LEC just yet. He was just a little bit too young. So he was on loan to Copenhagen Wolves. I lost a tournament to him here because my AD carry had the flu, which was freeze, and I had to play AD carry against Rekkles. I played Caitlyn, he went even against my Caitlyn, and then we lost the game later on because they were just vibing. Then he joined Fnatic. Things were good, but they lost to Alliance. They lost to Alliance in the final. Fnatic, Rekkles got a little bit of a whiff of maybe, potentially, you know, greener grass. He joined Alliance, they played one split, and they didn't even make playoffs. So they made an arguable improvement in their AD carry position. They lost tabs. This was the roster with Froggen, Wicked, Shook, and Nif, and they couldn't even make playoffs. It was a big meme, very big meme. Instantly realized his mistake and went back to Fnatic that happened to win that split that year. He went from not reaching playoffs to coming back to Fnatic, taking Steelback's place, and then making that 18-0 run with Huni, Reignover, Yellowstar, and Forbidden. 5 years pass. Rekkles, the man, just has the performance of a lifetime and thinks to himself, I am sick and tired of getting beaten by caps and perks and these fucking guys going to game 5s. I am so sick and tired of losing to G2. I am sick and tired of losing to G2. I am going to join them once again where the grass is greener. And what ends up happening is that as he's heading in to the best of 5 that is going to decide the fate of him and his team going to the World Championship, he comes out short against Fnatic. And I remember that very clearly because I was there on that day. And what thought to have been a downward spiral continued. Everyone was exciting for Karma. Everyone was very excited for Carmine Corp Rekkles, but even that story ended quite bitter, as Carmine Corp didn't manage to qualify to the final EU Masters that Rekkles could have potentially played on the Carmine Corp. And now he's back to the black and orange, the home where Rekkles has always found ways to find peaks. What is it that is different about this time around, Rekkles joining into this team? I think a big part of it is, of course, that no player from past Fnatic rosters are in Fnatic. The coaching staff is different, the team is different, the facility is different. So that idea of coming back to comfort might be true, but it isn't completely true. Maybe it's a jersey that makes him feel some type of way. Fnatic as well. So inherently, Rekkles being such a major figure, of course, for what Fnatic history is and what LEC history is, it's very exciting in itself to see Rekkles back in that black and orange jersey. But this time, I believe this will be the most challenging return to Fnatic that Rekkles has ever faced. This is his opportunity to really deliver, because he will have to. He will have to. Well, that's it for the storylines of the LEC. Is there any storyline that you feel like I haven't covered? Please let me know, either in the chat or in the comments below, because this will also be a YouTube video. Tenki, I hope that you've produced a pristine product here for people to watch. Maybe a little billboard on the side, boom. 11th best storyline, 10th best storyline, boom, 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 boom. And you just make a big screen. The best storyline.